I know this is a very unusual video for me, but I think we need to open up more on the internet for it. But before I do anything, I'm just gonna put this right here because we will be discussing upsetting things. This is definitely not for kids, not the way I will talk about it. Um, I do want to give a few heads up. Uh, this is sociology. There is no right, there is no wrong, there is no facts like. Uh, I don't know, like, I have glasses. That's quite a fact. That is an objective fact which doesn't exist within sociology. And because of this, this will be more of my sociological reflections on the things I will discuss. So this is not necessarily even my own opinion, it's just me as a sociology student that has, well, made a reflection on this. Uh, but I can give a little bit of background because when it comes to sociology, it can be important to discuss like whether I have anything against anything I will be discussing, and it can be viewed from me from a certain point of view. Because when it comes to something that isn't right or wrong, you do come from your own experience, obviously. But that also means that you have to tell people sort of like, well, at the moment I'm just right. Well, not. Hypothetically, I could be writing a theory. But the theory is about why humans are superior to animals, which go against my actual own ideology, which I would then later on have to describe in like the discussion part or something. But yeah, I do prefer other species of animals before humans. So I don't really agree with human society and some major human ideologies. Um, I will not talk about politics. Not because I know it's a very sensitive topic here on YouTube, but more I just don't believe that a few hundred humans can decide over a country that has millions of people. I don't believe that we can actually do that. And for that, I will not be discussing anything that is politics or that I know is majorly uh, politically charged, such as feminism. Because it is very politically charged, is very involved in politics, and I don't want to go down that road because I want to identify myself as like me. I don't want to be a feminist. I just want to be me and me with my ideologies. I also want to say before we actually start is that I come from a poverty background, and because of that and some other things in my life, I am not the most social person, and I do not get a lot of the social standards we have, even though I was born here in Sweden and grew up with it. So yeah, I hope you guys can live with that. So first, obviously I have four things I wanna go into. I do have a little bit of notes here so I don't spiral out of control. But first I want to talk about what is sociology. So it's actually the study of humans and societies. This is not to be. Well, it is a misconception that most people believe that sociology and social psychology is the same, but it's just related to each other. Because if we have psychology here, we have sociology here, social psychology ends in the middle. Because at my university, in the program, we managed to get, you want social psychology or sociology? I chose sociology because, for example, why do humans follow the unspoken norm of society? A social psychologist would look at, oh, what in the individual makes them pressured to follow them. Me as a sociologist would more look like, oh, okay, what is the actual norm? How did it come to happen? How is it still continuing? So we have a more broad spectrum, and the more psychology you get, the more individualized it is. And I think most of you that have heard anything about like social studies and stuff realize that there is no job that is sociologist. And that is because we can do so many things. Like we can do HR, we can be scientists, we can be a middle boss man, we can work in marketing, we can do all that. For example, like now in sociology, I'm reading about evaluation, which is basically, one example is you go to a school because they hired you to see like, oh, we had a program to make people or our students eat less candy when they can. And me as an evaluator do an evaluation and look, did it work? But to be honest, I want to be a social scientist with focus on cultures. And because of that, I have to go into history, other academic literature, and even economy. And because of that, there is no simple thing with sociology, because it's all of society, all of the human culture, structures, ideologies, all of that. So that's why I have picked out 4 things to talk about, which I think is important to talk about, but it's not political for me. Well, it can be political, but for me, right here, right now, it's just me telling you. And since this is just my reflections, I am open to your own reflections in the comments. Like, please do. Like, obviously, this is what I enjoy, otherwise, I wouldn't pick this at university. I used a book called Sociology by Giddens and Sutton. I think it's the 2021 edition. I looked through there to see like what my topics would be, so it's not their theories, it's simply my own reflections, and we will start with work and economy. So obviously I have to go a little bit more from the Swedish perspective. Obviously I do know the Japanese perspective, but I don't feel as comfortable since I don't have my own experience with it. When it comes to work, I do find it to be very, very unfair. For example, here in Sweden, I have noticed that in the 2 towns I have lived, that some people have it easier to get a job, which is, I mean, somewhat understandable, but it's not for the reasons I would like it to be. It's more that from what I have seen here in Sweden, it's more about connections. What people do you know? if you don't know anyone, you'll never find a job. Well, you will find a job, but it's not a good job. It's probably like, oh, here you go, you get to clean for like 2 weeks and that's it. And because of that, obviously, like me, I'm not, as I said in the beginning, like I'm not the most social, so I don't have a lot of connections. And I mean, yeah, I want to be a social scientist, so it doesn't matter as much, but other people that don't want to go like the criminology field or something within sociology will have very hard to actually find work. And here we also come into things like, oh, well, what about immigrants? Well, obviously, if it is mostly about connections, as I have seen, then obviously they will have it harder because, yeah, they maybe already know someone that lives here that is from their home country, but if that person doesn't have a lot of contacts, your contact won't have any contact, and so they only build their own tiny group in society. But maybe a large proportion of them are stuck in like these very simple works, jobs. Like, because it's very typical. I'm sure some of you have heard about like, oh yeah, this person was like a doctor in Afghanistan, but right now all they do is clean toilets. That's the kind of thing that sort of happens. And I've also noticed that here in Sweden we have instructions about things on Swedish and English. But some countries don't really have English. For example, France, depending on the pronunciation. I mean, they don't really learn English. So when they come here, and if they don't really know any English, how are they supposed to know anything? Like, how are they supposed to know where to sign up to get a job, where to find normal stores, like, especially now, well, during COVID-19, I mean, that should have been a real issue. Like, all the instructions were in Swedish and English, so how would they know? And obviously, people have different opinions about this. Some go the racist way of, oh, we should not have any immigrants because they can't Well, basically, one thing I've learned is the modern racism. They come from a different culture. And because they come from a different culture, they can't learn our culture, and I don't know their culture, so they're just weird and creepy. Okay, that is how some people do this new racism. And I mean, obviously that's hard, like, how are we supposed to fix, especially for people that don't even read English? I do believe that as an immigrant, you should do like a test in English and see like which level are you? Because obviously, like, how will they survive in Sweden if they don't know any Swedish or English? Then they will have to get in the small group of other immigrants from the same country or anyone that speaks the same language, but they might not have any real connections to the outside, like to the other parts of society. And that's also why it's very hard when it comes to economic crisis and work crisis. Because like, how do you change the whole concept of needing contacts to get a good job? Well, I don't know how many know this, but politicians actually don't like do everything themselves. Because when it comes to, oh, we want to see how many percentages are poor in our country, then they have like a sociologist or something that check around and find the statistics for them. And most of the time the politicians never like make up the solutions themselves. They sit there with a whole organization that write like speeches and figure out what's the best thing to do, and yeah, you know. So I do believe that the truth of sociology should be more out there. I believe that more people should know about it, because before university I only had that I picked a class about sociology, and other than that it was just like social orientation class that was like, yeah, here you have like 2 weeks of sociology. We just say that you just look at everything other things you look at. But now comes the thing that I personally is more aesthetic about, and that is social interactions and social concepts. Because obviously I like culture, and what is like the base of culture? Well, it's social interaction, social structures, social ideology. And as said before, I will not be discussing feminism. I think it's too politically charged, and what is shown in the media is all from actually really good till these super radical all men should die type of thing. So first of all, gender. I'm sure everyone has heard about this, talked about it, thought about it. But what in sociology is gender actually? Well, gender is actually a social construct made in different groups of people. Because you have the sex that you were born with, and then you have the gender, which is your social role within the gender norm or outside. For example, me, I identify as a demi-woman, which what that means is that I am both non-binary and part woman. And some of you will now be like, oh my god, how is this possible? Well, obviously, I have boobs. You know, that's a part of being a woman physically. And my individual self, just me. Like, me happens to have boobs, happen to have a uterus, all that shit. Well, me in a social stand, I think of myself as non-binary. I don't want my social gender to be an actual gender, like man or female, like man or woman. Because I want people to judge me for other things. Like, I am a university student, I am in my 20s, I am Swedish, I wear glasses. I am totally okay with having that in my social... God damn it. Like, my social personality, that's like my social part of me. I'm okay with all those things, but I don't want to be seen as a man, as a woman, as anything like that. I would like to be just this net neutral thing that just happens to glide in and you just think about me as anything else except a woman. So, me personally, I feel more like, oh yeah, well, I like more the aesthetic of having like boobs. I think that boobs can be very aesthetically, I don't know what to say, pleasing. Like, I find that dresses and female figures, they look better. Like, not in a sexual way, but an aesthetic way. But how I want to be seen and portrayed for other people is gender neutral. And because of that, I mean, as sociologists, we can also become gender scientists, which have a tendency to get a lot of death threats, mostly from these really extreme feminists that say, like, oh, well, gender is not something that actually exists. Which I do understand, obviously, like, I am both woman and non binary. And obviously, that's weird for people. Like, you don't really get it. But for me, it's very obvious. Like, yes, I was born a woman, but socially, I want to be seen as non binary because I don't want the social constructs of being a woman put on me. And because of that, it's very hard to know with this gender part, like, where do you draw the line? Like, where do we say, no, that's enough, or no, that's too much? Like, where do we draw the line? Well, no one knows. It's sociology. Everything is right, everything is wrong, everything is just messed up. Like, it's super fucked up. So, in the end, is everything wrong? Is everything right? We don't know. So it's more about the whole social concepts and the social interactions that do decide these kind of things, which is also connected to culture. And now I'm warning you guys, I will be discussing incestuous acts. And if you can't handle that, please fast forward to, I hope I will put some time. So, with culture, I'm sure all of you have seen on YouTube that all of a sudden it pops up like some documentary about something interesting or something super useless. Well, I have seen a documentary that was based in the UK about the Pakistani British people and their tendency to marry their cousins. Obviously, as a normal, typical Swedish person, I find this to be very disturbing. So, obviously, like, you do get a lot of health risks with having a child with your cousin. And the government, they went out and talked about it and was like, yeah, we don't really want this. And what they went on was, well, we're gonna tell everyone about the health risks. But the Pakistani groups, they saw it as a threat to their culture. Because, well, they're the most known at that time in England to do this incestuous marriages. And because of that, they thought it was a threat to their culture and not just a warning for everyone. Because they're the biggest group, they thought it was hate on them. Which I don't think it is. But because of this, it also went to the part of them ignoring like science behind it. So like religious leaders, they were like, no, it's not because of cousin marriages or something. Very few of the like religious leaders in these Pakistani groups, actually admitted to like, yeah, it's bad because it's so deep in the culture, and because it's something bad that's hate on us and we don't hate ourselves, so it's not bad. And obviously that's a bit weird. I know that this is my personal opinion, what I'm saying right now. You're not hurting anyone when you do incestuous acts unless a child is formed from the act of it. Because I don't believe that anyone deserves to go through all the physical, mental, psychological issues that you do get in a child that is born from a incestuous relationship. Like, the risk is very, very high. And I have also grown up with it being totally not okay. So yeah, I don't believe that they're hurting anyone, people who do incestuous acts, though I highly discuss it. Like, it's disgusting, it's creepy, I don't agree with it. But if you do, make sure a child isn't born. Okay? Like, I can't stop everyone from marrying their cousins, but I don't believe that the health risks for the child is worth it. I don't. And here we also have the connection to the social interactions on the internet. Because obviously on the internet you get to learn a bunch of stuff. Like, we have the true crime community, like the true crime fandom, where you get to learn about all these people who've done incestuous acts and murder kids and pedophilia and all those things. By the way, my own personal opinion on pedophilia is it's the most disgusting thing I can ever imagine. I find it very very difficult to talk about, as you guys notice. And even though I can look at incest in a more objective, non-personal way, I can't do that with pedophilia. I find it highly disgusting. I don't even want to talk about it more than this. And I believe that it's wrong. It is highly wrong. I don't think anything can make up for anything that anyone ever does in that kind of way to a child. You can't even if the person pays with their life, they cannot pay enough for what they have done. But back to the internet. Yeah, as you guys can see, I get actually emotional when it comes to that. But when it comes to the internet, I'm sure you guys have at least heard of. I have seen, like, on YouTube, it was like some TikTok cringe. And in that, it was a lot about incest. So how does it work with the social interactions on the internet? Because we have major cultures. Internet has its own culture. Like, how do you explain to someone like I don't know, why is it funny Pikachu surprise face? Like, if I show my grandma this, she won't get it. She won't get memes because she has no internet culture. But with internet culture, we also get normalization. For example, incestuous acts. Because in TikTok cringes, I have seen that it was like, oh, I am in love with my brother. And obviously, everyone has the right, freedom of speech. That is true. But you also have to realize what consequences it gets with the internet that is a free platform. Like it is its own universe, so to say. Because on the internet, people gather around. Similar people often gather around. And because of that, it can create some highly difficult things. For example, we have the bronies, which is adult men being very into My Little Pony. These have turned out to be very connected to, well, racism, pedophilia. I mean, it's kind of weird seeing a grown man into My Little Pony that is about friendship is magical. And obviously these gathered like huge groups. I remember seeing a video. Yeah, I saw a video about it, so I'm just recounting what I've seen on YouTube. But they had some gathering and they have over 10,000 people gathered there for My Little Pony convention. And yeah, we do normalize things like that we might find queer. Because thanks to the internet, we can easier normalize being trans, being non-binary, being gender fluid. But we also help normalize things like being into My Little Pony that all of a sudden lead to pedophilia. Like, there is consequences of the free social interaction online, especially since people can be hiding behind a fake face and a fake name. Like, you don't have the real life consequences. And speaking of real life, I will go into my third point here, which is life. Life, aging, and death is what I have written in my notes. First of all, here in Sweden we have very big anti-death societies, like we're scared of death. Even though death is the only thing we will ever truly know will happen to every single person that's alive, we still fear it. And this can come into a lot of different like culture perspectives, structures, ideology, fear of the unknown. Because within death, there is always life. And this has obviously triggered a lot of like abortion issues. Because some people be like, oh yeah, well, the moment the child is conceived, it has a life. Well, some people think it doesn't have a life until it's born. Some people think it doesn't have a life until after 2 months. Like, it's very open there. But we can always know that in the end, all children will die somehow, somewhere. That is nothing we can go against. Because even if you're 90, you were once a child. So that child has grown up to die one day. That is nothing we can deny. But also with this, it has also become sort of an anti-aging thing, as I've noticed in Western society, and most likely in a lot of other societies. People don't want to age. People don't want to turn old, to get health problems. People want to stay young, energetic, enjoying life. And obviously, like, fear of aging and fear of death obviously have to do with each other because, well, for me, I never really think like, oh, well, I wonder how life will be when I'm 60. Like, I'm in my early 20s, I don't think about that. Even though it is a natural thing. Like, either I die before I'm 60 or I'll die after I'm 60. So why not actually think about that? Though what helps is often different ideologies and religions, which is my next point with the ideology. Though I do want to say, this is obviously a really triggering conversation to have. Like ideology, race, religion. And I don't want to put in that much of my own point of views in this because I don't really see why I would have a point of view when I don't care for race. Like, if you're a nice person, you're a nice person. Uh, Religion, I can judge a little bit because if you choose to go the Nazi religion, you have made your choice to join that, and because of that choice, I will judge that choice. But only that choice only. Because some people can join awful groups but be actually a very nice and kind person otherwise. But I will join, but I will judge people based on their choices. Race, ethnicity, all that, it's not a choice. I cannot judge that. Just like I can't really judge someone for wearing glasses because I know sure as hell I didn't pick having to wear glasses. And at the moment, I don't have any big economy to be able to do laser eye surgery and stuff. So that I can't judge someone. But yeah, when it comes to ideologies and race, I did see a very interesting thing. Stanford University came out with a list of words that could be counting as offensive. Like, this can be offensive, use this word instead. And what I saw that I thought was interesting was that don't say African Americans, say black. Which was shocking for me because, well, I was born early 2000s, so I learned that African American was the more political correct way to say black. And now we're back to Stanford University saying that, oh, well, it's black people, not African Americans. And I do get it, not all dark-skinned people are African Americans. But I do not feel comfortable saying black people. I do believe that person of color works when it is non-Caucasian ones. Though I do know that means us white people, we Caucasians, don't have a color, which is problematic in itself. So I do not believe we can actually find a good thing in this. Because I would say the most logical way is to say North American, South American, European, East Asian, West Asian, stuff like that. That is the most logical way I can imagine we doing this now. But I hope someone actually comes up with a better way to describe ethnicity. And the last point, religion, in this ideology part. Well, as said, I don't judge people based on things they can't control. And I don't really care about religions. Like, if you wanna praise Buddha, or if you wanna be a Jew, or you wanna join Satanism, I mean, you do you. You can be a wonderful person. If you're a nice person, you're a nice person. But because I do believe people have freedom of speech, and I believe that we need to let bad people like Nazis have a voice, so that we can point out to younger generations, they're saying this is bad because of this. So they do get a real life example, and the Nazis do get their freedom of speech. But I don't believe in any physical harming from anyone. So, for example, I don't believe in Nazis that, we should kill all people that aren't Caucasian. Like, that's awful. But neither do I believe in that some radical feminists think we should kill Nazis. Like, I don't believe in any of it. The only people I actually believe that we should kill is pedophiles. Like, I'm sorry, but I can't handle pedophiles. That is the one kind of person I do want to be extinct. I know it will never be extinct. So killing them will solve nothing. So I'm not upset about not killing them. But if I had to kill anyone, it would definitely be them. But yeah, so I do believe we have a bit of an issue when it comes to freedom of speech, because yeah, like someone says something offensive and obviously you want to correct them because you find it that, oh, I find it offensive, or I know someone who does find it offensive. But I don't believe that we can be offended for other people. We can point out that we think what they're doing is wrong, but you can't say you're offended if it's not directed towards you. For example, if someone were in the comments now, you say, oh, well, I find it better to say black people than African Americans. Oh, okay. Well, I guess it's okay to say black then. Well, black people. Because I cannot say whether it's correct or not to say African Americans or black people, because I'm not part of the group. I can say I am more comfortable with saying African Americans, but I can't decide if it's right or wrong. And the same is with religion. Like, I can't say if it's right or wrong because I am anything but religious. But I know there is a lot of conspiracy and a lot of arguments online because some people they're like offended for other people, even if the people themselves that it's actually about don't feel offended. So I think that we can say that you find someone's actions or someone's words to be wrong, but you cannot say it's offensive or that you're offended if it doesn't involve you personally. So, this is a long ass video. Like, I don't know how anyone will look at all of this. But I hope you learned some more. But it's about with sociology and the look of life from a sociological perspective. And I do want to point out that I might have seen like emotionless and stuff, but that's because it's easier for me to not be like super jolly while trying to be objective, like as objective as you can be with social science. Because as you guys have seen, like with pedophilia, I'm like I really go at it. But the rest, I do have a better control of trying to keep it non-personal. And because of that, this might seem super boring. I seem super mean, like I hate everyone. I don't know about hating everyone, because I do like 3 people, but otherwise I don't really know people, so how would I hate them? If I don't know someone, I can't hate them, you know? That's how it goes for me. But I do recommend looking up more sociology if this interests you. If you want me to discuss anything from a sociological perspective, please comment. I would love to sit and theorize, hypothesize, and all of that just as a sociology student. So, yeah, this is a 45-minute video, at least for me. I don't know how long it will be for you guys, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you felt triggered during the video, I did warn you. Like, I actually don't feel like I have any blame in you feeling triggered. When I did give a viewer's discretion, and I did warn that some of it would be very graphic. Well, not really graphic, but it would be disturbing. And as said, like, most of this is not even my own opinion, it's just sociological reflection. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you made it through. Like, subscribe. Do comment down below your thoughts, because I am highly interested in knowing them. And yeah, peace.